Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. Um, the dogs were resting and laying down until I decided to start, so we'll see how well they stay quiet. But anyway, so I have a message on my heart the divine gave me, and a few days ago, my son sent me some music, just kind of randomly to listen to before he went into the military. He was one of my hang buddies. And so when I was listening to some of this music, I just burst out in tears. And it was just it just really hit my heart. And my first response in my mind was like, oh, I don't want to cry. I don't want to be over emotional. And, but I am very emotional. I'm very, very, as some would say, tenderhearted. I feel things deeply. I'm very empathic, and I feel a lot of stuff from other people, and I constantly have to protect my energy from not absorbing other people's energy. But I digress. So anyway, I had this quick internal conversation to myself, and it occurred to me that so often that's how we respond to deep emotions, to crying, is that we don't want to feel it. It's like, oh, that's what weak people do. That's what overly emotional people do. But the thing about tears is that they're cleansing, they're healing, they give us a physical release. And so many diseases we have are because we hold stuff into our body, because we don't release. So we have anxieties, we have fears, we have lack of forgiveness. We have so many things that when we allow ourselves to feel and to be in touch with things and to cry, it helps to release that physically, emotionally, spiritually. Tears show us and others that our hearts are still vulnerable, and that's a good thing. It doesn't feel good always to cry, but it's a good thing to know that we're vulnerable, that our heart still feels, that we are still tender, you know? Closed hearts, when we close our hearts off to people, to families, to neighborhoods, to friends, to whatever, they create barriers. A closed heart doesn't create healthy societies. It doesn't create healthy communities. It doesn't create healthy families. It just creates barriers and walls and blocks. And we definitely can use more tears in our society. Tears of joy, tears of wonder, tears of sadness, tears of rage. Not rage as in hatred, but rage at injustice, where we feel for other people, where we hold space for other people, where we not where we internalize it, but where we allow ourselves to feel the humanity of other people, where we allow ourselves to feel people's loss and people's joys. And that helps us to know and to remember that we are all one, that we are really all one family, that we all are one source. And the thing that came to me, the insight that the divine gave to me during this internal moment is that many of us, if you relate with being a starseed, if you relate with being an earth angel, if you can relate with having maybe other lives, if you understand quantum physics and you understand that we that our souls don't die off, that our energy doesn't die, and that we're so much more than this earth, and that we are not our physical beings. We are spiritual beings that are experiencing this dimension through our physical bodies, but the body is inside of our spirit. But anyway, so many of us come to earth to feel and to the extreme of feeling, and not in the sense that a lot of people will say, well, you choose to come to Earth because, many of us come from dimensions where it was just so good and it's so boring. And I don't believe that. I have never had an amazing day or amazing summer vacation growing up that I thought, oh my God, this is just, or gosh, that this is just so good that I can't have anymore. I gotta end it. Because something bad needs to happen because this is so good. Like that to me, that's a little absurd. But I do believe that what the divine was telling me is that some of us come because it's going to get a little esoteric. Because the beings that were cast down here on this planet and allowed to rule this planet were trapped here and lost their access to other dimensions. But they learned that through their connections with humans, if you read parts of the Bible and the Kabbalah and a lot of other stuff, there are beings that mated with humans, and so they learn that through the dream time they have access to other realms, right? And so going back to why some spirits, and some of us come here to understand evil. In many dimensions, there is no, or there hasn't been evil, and but evil is going throughout the dimensions. These beings have found out how to transverse to other dimensions from our dreamscape. And in order to fight evil, you have to understand evil. And when you don't understand something that is that dark, it's hard to fight it because it's incomprehensible what evil is, especially to light beings. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if there's somebody that will hit. And that doesn't mean that we chose the horrific things that we are experiencing here. That's not what that means. Nobody chooses to go through just the horrors here, but in choosing to be able to experience evil so that it can be stopped, so that it can be fought against, so that you can have a defense against it. Unfortunately, that requires to touch it a little bit, Okay, so let me see what my other notes are. It's just talking about the beings of destruction and death that came here. There are many dominions and realms where evil doesn't exist or hadn't existed. And just like the tribal people throughout our planet didn't understand the evils of colonialism and the imperialism that came upon them, they didn't understand the concept of owning land, of someone stealing something that is for everybody. There are beings that have not had the capacity to understand evil, and so in order to protect their realms and their dimensions, they come here and embody a life here to be able to understand it, to go back and to fight against it, against the corruption. So anyway, I think the point is that we need to feel, to allow ourselves to feel, to allow ourselves to experience the beauty, the joys, the sorrow, and to unify ourselves with each other through that. And when we stop and we block ourselves from feeling, we block ourselves from experiencing the greatest depths of joy and positivity and blessings. And, and when we open up our heart, there is always that opportunity or that chance that our hearts may be broken, but we are resilient, and we heal quickly. And when we open ourselves up, the divine is able to lead us to people, or lead people to us, or situations that help us heal, that help us find joy, that help us recover and grow. And so I pulled a few cards, and so I want to go through them. So we've got the Hermit, got the Ace of Cups, the King of Cups, and Justice, right? And the Hermit is introspection, right? It's knowing our heart. It's going in and knowing our heart, knowing our motives, knowing ourselves, right? Getting into that inner part, our motives, like what blocks or what fears or what insecurities or what joys or what desires do we have. It's in order to embrace the Hermit, we've got to dig in and know ourselves and allow ourselves to be in touch with our heart, right? The Ace of Cups is about overflow, new beginnings, creativity, right? Creativity comes from being in touch with our hearts, with our emotions, with our passion. And these are all just great experiences that the divine wants us to experience. Like, this is a time in our lives for creativity. Are there new adventures that you have? Are there new thoughts? Are there new inspirations? And we got the King of Cups, right? Who's the master of his emotions, with insight and discernment and emotional balance, right? Calm during chaos, right? But that comes from not from shutting down our heart, right? It comes from being in control, knowing our hearts, knowing ourselves, knowing who we are and what other people need. It's being in touch, because leadership without that is harsh, right? It's overbearing. Sweetie, get out of the bag. And then we have justice, right? And true justice comes from integrity, from the heart, right? From love, from truth, from balance, and not from a hard-heartedness, not from defense, not from barriers and walls, And let's see. So I have these Y cards, and I'm laughing because of what it says. And I pulled out a couple. And so why do we need to feel? Why do we need to allow our hearts to expand? I was trying to see if my puppy got anything. And this says, because it's time to release the past. You know, we need to allow our hearts to feel, to overflow, to so we can release the past, so we're not carrying it with us. This is a new era. This is a new opportunity. This is, you know, we're starting the you know, the oh my gosh, my brain just went dead on what to call it. But you know, another new year with springtime, you know. And this is a big part of it. Releasing our past and letting it go so that our hearts can grow, so that our hearts can love, so that our hearts can develop in our lives. We can feel and we can just relish and overflow with love and joy and prosperity. And it says also we need to allow our hearts to feel, you know, because we're more capable than we realize. And when we hold our hearts in, you know, you see that plant there, and he's got the bucket of water, the tin, I believe, of water, right? When we hold our hearts in, we don't have the water that nourishes the plants, the creativity like that. There's magic in our tears. And I don't remember where I heard that when I was a kid, but I've always said that there is magic in our tears when we allow our hearts to feel at that vulnerable level, when we're able to love so intensely that we feel we're able to overflow and allow that to create magic throughout our lives. And also feeling intensely and loving, and not out of control, but, you know, allowing our hearts to feel. It prepares us for what's ahead, right? It prepares us for new opportunities. It prepares us for new relationships. It prepares us for new experiences, right? Sweetie, stop that. And these are things that come from allowing our hearts to well up, to grow, to feel, to love, and not guarding it with barriers and walls and sorry, I just had a bunch of different thoughts. But we're meant to feel, we're meant to grow, we're meant to love, to expand. And in doing that, we draw in creativity from within ourselves. It allows us to lead better in our lives, our families. Let's see. Let me see my puppy. There's my puppy. She's up on the table where she shouldn't be. But it allows magic to enter our lives. It allows us to do amazing things and prepares us for just amazing opportunities. You know, when we are so guarded, we don't allow ourselves for new experiences, for new people. So I just have 2 more cards. I'm going to take the top. And when we open our hearts, the Ten of Cups. Sorry, I'm a little distracted by Nova. This is like, you know, the jackpot, really. You know, like our lives, relationships, abundance, opportunity, connection, joy. Just, oh, sorry. Here, go get that. Okay, I gotta hurry it because I just put a ball up and now my other dog's here. Okay, so this is the power of opening our hearts, right? Getting the jackpot in our lives. The bottom of the deck, we have the 5 of Wands. And when we guard our hearts and, you know, and we're defensive, we have a lot of conflict with other people, right? And really that conflict comes from not being in touch with ourselves, with our own hearts, with our own motives, with our own desires, you know. We feel a sense of lack because we fear connection with other people, or we fear that other people are going to try to take something from us. But when we open up our hearts, we realize that everything in this universe is for us, and that we have access to it all, and we have it starting from within ourselves. Everything we need for abundance, for prosperity, for love, for connection starts and comes from within, inside of ourselves. It starts from within our hearts. And I just want to encourage you, allow yourself to feel. Stop. Okay. All right, I gotta go. But thanks for joining me.